All right. Happy Monday, XO. And of course, happy Thursday to all my Lennox and Parker viewers. This is your host, Christal Jordan, and I am excited about today's guest because you guys know I am a huge fan of a lot of the programming that we have on OWN. But finally, we have a program that I believe really does it does a great job of celebrating legacy. It does a great job of celebrating Black excellence. And of course, the cast is made up of some amazing Black women. And we just happen to have two of them here with us today. Please help me welcome Jaquita Montgomery and the diva herself, Nicole Handy. Welcome, ladies.
Hi, Christal.
Hey, how are you?
I am good. I'm good. First of all, I have to start with a huge congratulations on Family Empire Houston. As I said, I've been a fan of OWN. I've been reviewing the shows on the network for years. And so often people are like, oh, this show doesn't seem like it would fit on the Oprah Winfrey Network, but this show is a perfect fit. We have sisterhood, we have legacy, we have Black excellence. We have just an amazing example of family in the Black community. And so I just want to start by congratulating you ladies for being an amazing example of all of those things with Family Empire Houston.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I actually grew up in Oklahoma, which is not kind of like, I think Oklahoma is like a sister of Texas.
You're almost a Texan.
Well, almost. Yeah, Texas is like a bigger version of Oklahoma, but
Misha went to OU.
I went to OU.
Did you? Y'all didn't cross each other's path?
Boomer Sooner. We could have. Boomer Sooner. It was a very small African American population, so yes. Could have. But in saying that, I believe that there's a great Houston has, number one, an amazing African American population, that there's so much going on there. So I would love to hear, how did you guys end up connecting with Mr. Carlos King to create this show and actually bring your family story, which is a historical one, to OWN Network?
Yeah, so it actually started with Jamisha and I. A publicist approached us about just, we were Black women in business. At that time, our real estate brokerage, Break Real Estate Group, may have been 2 years old, 2 or 3 years old. But he reached out and was like, hey, I see you guys are doing some great things. I am looking to cultivate a reality TV show. Would you guys be interested? And I'll be honest, we were just kind of like, okay, we got 1,000 things going on, but let's just add one more to the list, right? So, we didn't take them serious, though. I'll just be very transparent. We didn't take a lot of this serious until we actually met Carlos King. But so what he did is he hired a writer to pitch our story. So the writer initially started off just interviewing Jamisha and I, but what she realized is that we had a really great family dynamic. Not only were we great in business, we had a really great family dynamic, and they felt like that story needed to be told as well. And so they started to interview more of the family members and really put a pitch, like a story, like what could a show be about, right? Here's a show that you can cultivate. And so one day we got a call and it was like, hey, Carlos King wants to meet with you guys. And we're like, excuse me? Like, who? And so again, we were kind of still like, is this for real? Like, cause there's just so much scams, so many scams going on and things like that. Right? So we're like, is this for real? So anyway, they set up a meeting, and it was during COVID time, so everything was on Zoom. And Jamisha and I are sitting there, and he pops up on the screen. We're like, oh, okay, it is for real. But we interviewed, he talked to us for about an hour, and at the end of it, he said, I really like you ladies, and I want to do a show with you guys. And I want to do a show with your entire family. And 2 years later, here we are today.
Wow. Well, Jaquita, let me ask you, how were Nicole and Jamisha able to convince the rest of you?
Well, first we thought they were lying. We're like, y'all didn't interview with Carlos King. Y'all lying. And then when we really found out it was true, we're like, oh my goodness, like, to be with, a producer or executive producer such as Carlos King, it was just a major privilege. And we're like, our little old family, y'all want us, because of course to ourselves, we just think we're just regular old people. And then when other people hear our stories, they're like, no, this is amazing. This needs to be told. And especially having Granny here, like that means just so much to us. And I think she's enjoying it more than anybody.
Oh, yeah.
I think she's a star. She's definitely the star of the show. Definitely the star of the show. Oscarene is definitely the star. But I it's interesting to hear you say that you guys didn't realize that your family was special, because when I watched the first episode, I was like, wow, this is, we don't always, we know, because I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so I'm aware of Black Wall Street and what happened. And so many Black families were not able to hold on to their land or hold on to their legacy. A lot of that has been taken from so many people. So for you all to have direct access and to still have your granny there, but most importantly, to still have all the land and all the different businesses that her and your grandfather started, that is definitely something that a lot of families don't have the privilege of having. Did you grow up understanding the magnitude of what that meant to you? I'll start with you, Jaquita.
Honestly, no, but we really didn't. And so Granny's, the majority of her business is right across from my elementary school. And so, and as you can see on the show, because the piece of land is right next to that elementary school we went to. And for years, I didn't know Granny even owned that property. Oh, wow. But I knew she had, different businesses, and we would see the work ethic that Granny and Pawpaw that they had. We're like, man, Granny and Pawpaw, they're really working. They have the daycare, they have the washateria, they have the reception halls. And we just always admired that hard work, but we still didn't, I don't think it hit us until we got a little older and realized, man, they're really creating something beautiful and building this legacy and creating this generational wealth for us. So it wasn't until later on in our adulthood to where it hit me. Nicole may have a different story.
No, I mean, I think the story is very similar. Like Jaquita said, I always thought this is the average. We're just regular people. And we still feel like that. But I mean, growing up as a kid, I always tell people we only saw our grandparents be entrepreneurs. Now they did have a blue collar life before we came along, but that's all we've ever saw. That's all we've ever admired, and that's all we've ever worked towards.
Well, that's very apparent. The G3s have a very different reality. You didn't see some of the struggle you guys benefited, and I think that's what, as if you were watching, that's what a lot of us, we want to be able to give our children, right? We want to be able to, the idea of being able to pass down land, and even the idea of being able to pay off all your children's mortgages is amazingly a blessing. So it's great for you all to present that example so that we see something else, another version of the African-American story being told. So I'm just totally in love with that show because of that piece itself.
Thank you.
I want to say too, Nicole, one of my favorite scenes, because we know that finances and property and all that, big part of legacy, right?
Absolutely.
To me, one of the most heart-touching moments, and that is also a part of legacy that we often don't see, is a scene with you and your daughter Layton and Oscarene, and she's teaching her how to make cabbage and she's teaching her how to cook. How important, and tell us a little bit about you guys' background. Was that always a part? Was it more than just the finances and the business? It also seems like there's a huge tradition of family that's been passed down that we got a chance to see in that scene.
I mean, it 100%. Like, that's one thing that stems from the OG. We call Granny the OG, right? That's one thing that stems from the OG. And I think honestly, it's a lot because of how she was raised and brought up. But the dynamic of supporting your family and working together, that comes from her, and that's just what we do. Like, there's nothing bigger than family, and she makes that extremely clear. You might have a disagreement, you might argue, but hey, at the end of the day, you support one another and you work together. And it's so funny because, I mean, you guys see us working in business, but I mean, just in like our personal lives, like when I feel like everybody in our family has a role, right? And I think we're a good display of when you collectively put all of your unique skill sets together, you make a great team. And that's what you see with us in business and even outside of business. Like when we have parties and we have functions, everybody has a role. I'm the family DJ. Like one of our aunts is going to be, the person that mixes all the drinks. Somebody else is going to be over the food. Somebody else is going to be over the dessert. Jaquita, she's mostly like over the fun
dancing.
Games, dancing. So everybody has a role, and when you combine those roles together, it just works. And that's something that we learned from Granny. Work together as a team to make sure that your team is successful.
Yeah, I love that. I think we see that with specifically the sisters and the sister cousins, right? But I wonder, how difficult is that for people that come into the family, the husbands that are on the other side. Obviously, Jaquita, I'm gonna come to you in just a minute. But I wonder, because there was a line said, I can't remember if it was the second or third episode, that like you guys were taught that, you know, family is forever, but my sisters and my cousins gonna be my family forever, but my husband, that may come and go. That may not necessarily be something that sticks around.
Mhm.
How much do you think that belief system kind of plays into the marriages? Because I think that's kind of difficult when you think, okay, this is forever, but this may not be. That person that's coming in has got to kind of feel that. At least the audience kind of feels that. How do you guys feel about that? And I mean, I was taught that too. You know, my granny definitely was like, you know, make sure your money is where it is.
Right.
You never do that. But that also kind of leaves you with the feeling that the marriage may or may not be as big of a priority as family. So how do you guys feel about that?
Well, we've seen that, and I can speak for myself. My parents are divorced. And so that was a prime example of, hey, your family. I saw who was there to help my mom pick up the pieces, and it was her family. You know, my dad, of course, I love him to death, but they're not together. And just seeing that, and I often look at it and I'm like, oh, I don't want to go down that same road. Divorce is not an option. We knew that going into this, but we still have to be realistic and know that if something does happen, my family is still here to support me at the end of the day. So we honestly are just approaching it just with real life situations. I can't be fake, you know, and I got in trouble after the episode from my husband. But I mean, if the truth is the truth, what you want me to say, you know?
So do you err on the side? Because of course I know the viewers were, you know, they were split, right? There are a lot of people that felt like,
they was eating me up.
That was some, but then there's also some that was like, you know, we recap the show every week, so we have people that speak on both sides. But I wonder if in your heart of hearts you feel like if something does happen, if something goes down, do you feel an obligation to have your husband's back, even if he isn't necessarily, if you don't agree with him, at least in front of the sisters and cousins? Or do you feel like this is my ride, these are my ride or die, you got to get your stuff together? Where does your allegiance lie initially?
So I usually try to stay neutral, but then sometimes I'm feeling inclined to have to take my husband's side, because it feels as if Jamisha and Nicole may be tag teaming him. And I'm like, all right, he needs me here, you know, for moral support and to at least get his point across, because I know how strong-minded these Braden women are, and I don't want my husband to go in feeling attacked. So, you know, it may not necessarily be that I'm taking sides, but I'm at least making sure he's being heard.
Yeah.
And they're,
Nicole, I don't know if you need Jamisha.
It's a bulldog. I told you.
I don't at all, right? But you know, just to kind of add on to what Jaquita say, we do take our marriages, our households, and family separately. You know, I think we all know what works in our own particular households, what's a trigger for our husbands, what our husbands need in terms of our support. And at the same time, our husbands know what we need in terms of their support, you know. So I think they've kind of gotten used to us in the way that we operate, you know, more so. You know, I think coming in, just being very transparent, coming into our family, because we have such a large family and we're such a close-knit family. For some people, it can be intimidating, you know. And as much as we try to, you know, be open and loving and bring people in, I can understand how it can be intimidating. But I think our husbands have gotten used to it, you know, and like where they are right now, they're just kind of like, you know, hey, you know, we support you, ladies. You know, you do what you do and do it well, and you let us know what you need from a support angle. I don't think any of our husbands wanted to do the show. You know? But again, you know, they were a big part of it, or the part that they did play because of us, you know, in support of us.
Do you think there's a certain type of personality that would work for a husband? Like, I know your younger sister, Monet, is not married, Nicole, and I know you are actively looking and matchmaking for her. I do love the fact that we do see marriages, because that's another thing. Like, you know, this show has so much goodness to it, but in that goodness, you know, you're going to have real life issues. So I think the viewers appreciate that. But do you think there's a certain personality type for a potential suitor that will work in this family of very strong-minded women? Like, I'm sure some men are like, I can't even, I don't know where I could fit in this situation. What do you think?
That's a loaded question, you know, because I think we have, like, if you look at our husbands now, they are all very different personality types. And, again, I think they complement each one of us in a different way. And I think they've learned how to compliment us, even if they didn't know in the beginning, right? That's, really just, we want people with strong morals, values, and ethics. It's just kind of, it's crazy because you kind of, I've learned that you kind of look for a husband what you had in your dad, and what you saw in your grandparents, and what the role models that we've had and we've seen, they've been, one, strong providers, but two, they have just been great men, and like our grandfather was a very loving man to us. He taught us a lot. He worked with us often, so I don't know. That's a loaded, like I said, that's a loaded question. But I will say this: you do have to have a backbone, because then you have people like Jaquita who just say whatever.
We'll run you over, yes. And I wanted to just add into that. Monet is not the only single one. Lakeisha, she's not married. Not yet. Caramel has been pushing it. But one thing I can say that I like about Caramel knows how to stand her ground, because you guys didn't see all the clip. We were really going at her at one point, and she stood her ground. And I do admire that. You do have to go in being able to stand your ground with the family members, because sometimes we can be a little intrusive. And so you have to be able to stand your ground, and also let that spouse, let us be us. We want to, I don't know what's the exact word that I want to say, but just let us have our free range of being ourselves. And a funny thing, last night, Keisha and Caramel were on live, and Keisha accidentally called her Caramel Brayton. And I said, oh, no, not yet. You haven't finished getting hazed yet. And it was just a joke.
I don't haze, but I'll say this.
It was just a joke.
Yeah, the last thing on this topic as well, too, we all know our husbands, too. And so we do protect our husbands from the family. Like we'll say, like, hey, this is off limits. Don't talk about this with my husband, or don't do that. He doesn't like that when you guys say that or do those things. So we do protect our husbands from the family. I mean, not in our family isn't. We don't. But we do know what our husbands' likes and dislikes are. And sometimes we just make that known, like, hey, he's really not a fan of this, so could y'all please not do this?
I did. It's funny because we were recapping last week, and I was like, it does seem a little bit like Caramel's being subjected to the hazing. Like, once you go over, you're good, but we're gonna test this before you get here. So it's funny. People are like, that is hilarious. You said she was being hazed. I was like, it looks like they are putting her through it to see if she has the staying power. Last question on this to you, Jaquita. Have you felt like perhaps your husband being employed by the family may not have been the best decision? Have you ever questioned, like, maybe we should have done this?
Right. And I'm telling you, every day it's always an argument or a struggle here in our household, because he wants to quit. I can't tell you what the outcome is, but he wants to leave Brayden. And I'm like, Chris, you can't just up and quit because you and Nicole got into it. That's not how we operate. If you are going to leave Brayden, which I'm not opposed to you doing, just have something lined up. We can't just, impulsively quit, because we got real bills that need to be paid. And so I'm not opposed to him leaving Brayden if he's still there.
Right.
I'm not going to do any spoilers, but I'm not opposed to him leaving. I want him to do what makes him happy, because I get caught in the crossfire between my sister cousins and my husband. My husband wants to, feel like he can come home to vent to me about his job, and then it's me looking at him like, okay, wait a minute. That's my sister. That's my cousin, watch your words, tread lightly. And so, but he wants to feel like he has that person in me, and I want to be that safe place for him. It just makes it hard when you're working with family. So whatever decision he makes, I support it as long as he has something lined up.
We don't quit a job until we have a job.
Exactly. Preach.
I'm not mad at that. So that's one of the issues that I know people have responded a lot about. Nicole, I want to ask you, because when you decide to come on and be on a reality show, sometimes there are issues that have been a part of families, and we all have family secrets and family, not even secrets, but family situations that may be tender to the touch, or, not necessarily worked out already. And I think watching the situation between you and your sister Keisha, with you guys having different mothers, is something that a lot of people have talked about as well. We see that there's this relationship there, and I love the fact that she looks up to you as her big sister, but it seems to be some distance, and I would assume that probably is just because of the nature of the sisterhood, like how you guys, came to be sisters and being, from different mothers is so close. Is that something that you considered not sharing, or were you just like, if we're going to do this, we're going to be transparent about everything?
Well, I say this, so to the rest of the world, they're seeing it, but it is our real life. That's my real life, and a part of that is very touching, and very sensitive, and so it was. We knew that, just being honest, the production team wanted to talk about it. So there were certain things we were open to talking about, and there were certain things we were not open to discussing when it comes down to that matter, but no, we knew they wanted to talk about it. I feel like I knew what we signed up for. We knew what we signed up for. I mean, that doesn't mean it was still easy, it wasn't easy, but I knew we signed up for it. So we were, we're open to talk about it with certain boundaries.
Right. I think that there are a lot of people, in situations like that,
Absolutely. Yeah.
more than not. What advice? Because we're seeing you guys now as grown women, fabulous. She's got her situation. You guys are obviously, there's no there's a love there. What was it like growing up? At what point in your life did you guys learn about each other, or did you know about each other from the very beginning?
I don't remember not knowing about Keisha. And like, that's one thing that, I've seen, like, different articles come out to talk about Nicole and her estranged sister, like, so much so I had to look up the word, like, do I understand the definition of estranged? Because I'm like, we are definitely not estranged, and I hate that word was even brought into the mix, because I've known her all my life. I've known her as long as I can remember. We've always been sisters as long as I can remember. So, I don't know. I get that question a lot though. Like, when did y'all find out? I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know, It's something that we've always, known, or, ever since I could remember. Let me say that ever since I can remember, she's been a part of our life.
Well, that speaks to the that speaks to the strength of your mom, right? And her mom. And that is also a teachable moment. The scene with you and your mother, where you said, I can't hear this, I can't hear your side, that's just not something I want to hear. That touched me, because I think as a woman now, like, now that you're grown, you probably know how it feels to be the child. And you said you and Lakeisha are still the children in the situation, even though you're grown.
Yeah.
But now as a woman, you kind of know your mother's perspective of it too, if you were in that situation. So how do you kind of navigate making sure that your mother knows that her feelings are valid, but yet you still have to remain in a child's place in that situation?
Well, honestly, I have learned how to, well, first I tell myself, me protecting myself and advocating myself doesn't mean that I'm putting anybody down. That's first and foremost. Whether, honestly, it's my mother, Keisha, my father, the rest of the family, and things like that. So, it is. And the one thing I also know is everybody has a truth, and everybody's truth, honestly, in the situation is a little bit different. So I have to respect everybody's truths, right? But also, this show has honestly helped me speak up about my truth. Right. And how I felt in this whole situation, in this manner, and how it's affected me, how it's helped me, how I've grown from it, how it's some things I still have to grow from it as well. So, just constantly reminding people that, hey, I respect your truth. Regardless if I agree with everything or I don't agree with everything, I respect your truth, but, just also protecting what is my truth too. This isn't, to the rest of the world, this is the first time you guys are seeing this, right? This isn't the first time we've seen this. This isn't the first time we've talked about it. This isn't the first time we've lived through it. We've lived through this for years. We've talked about it for years. So, at the point I am now, it's just, to my mom, it wasn't that I was neglecting her truth, but I've heard the story before. And I just want to protect my space right now. My goal was to say, hey, I'm not discrediting you. I love you. And y'all don't see everything on camera. I mean, y'all don't see everything, right? Of course, you get the edited version, but it was some, hey, I love you, Mom. I understand. But, just protecting my peace of mind in this moment, it's not something that I just want to discuss again.
No, I think that's the definition of, like, setting healthy boundaries. And I think that people are watching the show through their own experience and comparing that to how you all are handling it. So when, to whom much is given, much is required. So I think you guys have now you have this responsibility of being an example, and I think you're doing that was a hard thing to watch, but I think you handled it beautifully, because as the child, you always are going to have a different outlook and perspective on your parent. And so it was definitely something I think people could learn from and appreciate. Another big thing is the G1s and the G1s, G2s, G3s. So you all are the grandchildren that, like I said, had a very different experience. obviously had your pawpaw wrapped around y'all's finger, which of course, having girls, that makes 100% sense. What do you guys think about the feedback? Because I know there are a lot of people that feel like the G2 should have, should be able to benefit from the land like Miss Oscarene wants. And then there's others that feel like, this is business. This is an opportunity for them to make $7 to $10 million. And, they want it. They're on the G3 side. What do you guys think about the feedback, and just how do you feel about the differences between your parents' vision, your grandmother's vision, and now the vision that you all, have as the grandchildren?
So honestly, we have to, let it be heard that Granny has made it clear her priority is taking care of the G1s. And so it is extremely hard for us to sometimes convey what us G2s want, because like I said, her main priority of the G1s, they kind of missed that touch with the entrepreneurial spirit. We received that. They were more, they had the silver spoon in their mouth, and so they were used to just Granny and Pawpaw taking care of everything for them, not to discredit them, because they still have very strong work ethic, but they all worked 9 to 5s.
But they also too, they also grew up seeing their parents, for earlier on in their life work 9 to 5s. The only thing we ever saw was them being entrepreneurs.
No, that's a good point. And I think even the landscape has changed, right? So when you all were, we're in this, close in the same age range. So it's back in those days when our parents were growing up, there weren't as many opportunities for entrepreneurship, especially for African Americans. Now things have blossomed and we see things changing. So I do think we know that the family has titled you as the spokesperson for Miss Oscarene Nicole. But I think, do you think that you understand her perspective because of that part, that and you all have children, so you know that your children are your responsibility?
Yeah, a lot of her perspective is, hey, I'm passing it down to my next generation, and then it's it's your parents' it's their responsibility to pass it down to you. She's like, I'm making sure that it continues to move forward. I think we just have a different vision of how we get there, right? And so, I see both sides, and I respect both perspectives. Especially with us being in real estate, we totally understand how you can take one piece of property and grow it in value and develop it and appreciate. I don't necessarily know if the G1s understand that as much as we do, right? But it's not their profession. So I'm team Granny, because let me say this, Granny is very strong-minded, right? And it takes a lot of convincing her to do something different than what she already has her mind set on. And one thing she already has her mind set on is, hey, I want to make sure this goes down to my children. So honestly, it's a very big task for Jamisha and the rest of the family to help her see otherwise, because she already honestly had her mind made up, right? And then we step in and like, hey, we can do this and this and this and that. So and then just being mindful of the fact that she's 87 years old, and I think that she wants to do a lot of things to be able to see some of the fruits of her labor. We all know that, legacy can be forever, right? And things, property, assets continue to get passed down. But I do think that she finds gratitude and fulfillment in actually seeing things happen.
Absolutely. That is, like I said, when I heard that is amazing to even have the ability to do. To be able to have something that would enable, either way, it enabled, your family legacy to make millions and have a community that is part of something you own. But it also is beautiful to be able to put your children in a position where they are debt free. And it's just all great. We can't wait to see how things pan out. And
this is the first time Granny has, like Jamisha said on the show, has basically done some things to make some things happen for our children. So I know we all see our grandchildren. We're like, it's gonna be our turn,
right? Because we still have mortgages.
But it's not your turn, Jaquita. It's not y'all's turn.
Well, their houses should be paid off. That's what we said. We need to get ours paid off.
There it is, right there. Our audience is like, they are spoiled. The G2s are spoiled. Y'all better give y'all parents that money and let them live. You you're still in the working years to where you're earning, and you guys are real estate agents. Nicole selling $1 million houses. Y'all are good.
Left and right. Let's go.
And I think that's what she looks at as well. Y'all are good. You know, y'all got this down. You're gonna be good. And not to say that the G1s aren't gonna be good, because you know, all of them have basically set their lives up already. Oh, yeah. Even if Granny wasn't a part of it, they'd still be great. You know,
absolutely. Right? Let me ask you this. Let me ask you guys. This is my second to last question. If Granny did give in and allow Jermisha to run with her plan, right? Mm-hmm. Would you all then say, or do you think, we're just speculating, let us make sure that we honor our Granny's wishes and make sure we once we're able to get a profit, that we do take care of our moms and dads?
Oh, absolutely. And it would be no other way. Yeah. You know, absolutely. It would be no other way. Yeah. And trust me, Granny, being the businesswoman that she is, whatever's in the plan, that'll already be written in.
Should be written. Well, that's good. And we got it here, right here on tape. So if they do get money, they got to go back and make sure that their parents are taken care of. Last question for both you ladies. Is there anything in watching this? We know we're gonna go dark for a few weeks, and the audience is definitely not excited about that. But with you guys going dark for a few weeks, but so far, you know, the first 4 episodes, has anything surprised you that you at watching it back? What has been the biggest surprise? I'll start with you, Jaquita. What has been the biggest surprise for you to watch compared to how it felt when it was actually filming?
Right. I guess I would have to say, seeing a few of the comments, because I usually try not to go back and look at the comments, but we do have some family members that'll screenshot stuff. And for people to think, oh, she's mean, she's messy. And I'm like, I'm so goofy. And I don't do anything with ill intentions, but for me to be viewed that way, I'm just kind of like, okay, next season, if we get another season, I'm going to have to go in and clean my act up, because, you know, I know that it's all fun and games and, you know, it's out of love, but it's not being portrayed that way. And so it just, you know, has you looking and saying, oh, okay, well, let me clean up my character so I won't be portrayed a certain way.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Nicole?
So I honestly, like, looking, you know, from a viewer's perspective, if I were a viewer, you know, honestly, the crazy surprise is Jaquita is like hilariously funny. Like, and I guess I live with her you know, we're together every day. So I don't, you know, it's just something she might say that I'm just like, that's Quita, you know, but like watching the playback, like, oh my God, that exercise, that workout scene, like I literally like fell out my chair. You know, so
I don't know what Monet was thinking, setting us up, because we do not work out. We just like to eat.
Well, that's one thing I was like, that's good to see. Like, we need to we have to start working out. We must, as Black women, we have to. So I was like, I see Jaquita's trying, but not really. But
I was doing the best I could.
I mean, that would be one of my surprises, is that, you know, like, I'm like, okay, like, I knew Jaquita, you know, I knew she just says anything, but like the stuff she says is like hilariously funny, you know, like that kind of caught me off guard.
I don't think before I talk. So, and that's the hard part about it being a reality. I'm like, okay, let me, you know, filter this before it comes out. But then if I filter it, then it's not me being myself. Yeah. So it's like, y'all just got to get it.
Alicia and I are definitely more so, okay, let's think about this before we open our mouths. And, you know, stuff like that. Like, just don't say anything, you know.
I miss that trait.
But it's okay, because she's really authentically herself.
I think the viewers love that. I think that all of you all have such distinct personalities. Number one, it makes it easy to get to know the person. It's a lot of family members. And so getting to know everyone is easier, because the honesty is there. You know, we see who is focused on what and the priorities, but I would say don't change. Just allow the natural progression of people to get to know you, because you know, you're never going to please everybody, and the best thing you can do is always be yourself. So I would say that we appreciate it. Appreciate you all. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me today.
So fun.
Our big fans. So let people know. I know you can't give us any spoilers, but what are you looking forward to seeing when you guys return from this break on Family Empire?
I'm looking
forward to seeing more of the dynamic with the brokerage as well. I know you guys see a lot of family aspects of it, but we're a pretty big brokerage, and, you know, some of the business side, some of the things we do, you know, in business, and how we're trying to grow our business, and, you know, just grow what we've already cultivated, and including, you know, our team of agents. We have like 80 agents at the brokerage, you know, and you don't really get to see a lot of them. It's a lot of them, right? You don't really get to see a lot of them. So just some more of the fun things, kicking back, you know, just more of the business side as well. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Nice.
Absolutely. Same as Nicole said, more of the business side, because we're really out here in these real estate streets and we're really always working. I don't think they showed too much of it, but we are always working, and it's multiple jobs. You know, you have to have multiple streams of income these days. And then also just a little more of the husbands, because they're really who, you know, they're part of who makes us who we are. So we really want you guys to be able to see more of that family dynamic with our husbands and children.
Yep. Well, I love it. We are locked in and definitely would love to see that. I think the viewers love seeing the family dynamic, and we know y'all are business women and boss chicks, but we love seeing how that all comes together. So thank you all, number one, again, for being just a wonderful example. And hopefully this show inspires more Black families to pay more attention and focus on legacy and taking care of passing traditions down and all that, all the amazing things that we see here on Family Empire Houston. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christal. We appreciate the support has been like no other, whether it's people we know, strangers, bloggers, everybody, the support has been overwhelming. So I just want to say thank you again to everybody that has even uttered this show, good, bad, or ugly, right? Just thank you so much.
Look, as long as they're viewing, right? That's all that matters.
They're going to keep tuning in, which means you got another opportunity to show them something different. But it's built on so many great principles. We know that it has to be real life, but so many great things from a Black family that we don't often see on reality TV. You don't see generations of Black families working together towards a common goal. That really is something that is very special. And so I commend you guys for being a part of it. I aspire to create that with my family, because we don't have that foundation. But I think seeing something that gives you the inspiration to know that you can start today, you can start here, you can start with your children, you can start with your parents and push forward. So I thank you guys for being an amazing example.
Thank you.
All right, ladies, I'll have to have you guys come back later in the season. We'll definitely be watching Family Empire Houston every Friday on the OWN network at 8 p.m. Eastern. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
And don't forget to bring your OU girl back, because I'm sure y'all can do y'all little Boomer Sooner chant.
Sooner, absolutely. Boomer, yes, sooner born, sooner bred. Absolutely. I have to have her come back on. All right. Thanks, ladies. All right, so there you have it. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation with Nicole and Jaquita. Definitely looking forward to having Jermisha back as well as some of the other ladies, but I'm interested to hear what you guys think about this interview. Make sure if you are watching it afterwards, you go ahead and leave your comments down in the chat. And of course, you can visit Lennox and Parker for a full interview, full article about today's interview. Again, thank you guys as always for watching, and we will see you guys next time. This has been your host, Christal Jordan. Enjoy the rest of your week. We love you. Bye-bye.